Hello and welcome back to Mr. Caro Plays FM23. Now today we're going to look at something in terms of scouting, something that we haven't done before, and to do this we need to go to the scouting page. Now once we are there we want to go to Recruitment Focus. Now we're looking at specifically young players. It might say more new gens than players that are young in real life if you like, but obviously if you started the game recently and it's maybe 2022, 2023, then obviously there are going to be some young players still currently floating about that this will also apply to. So if we go specifically to create a recruitment focus, now you can give this a name. Well, first of all, you need to select if you want a specific position or if you want to go for any position from your tactic, the tactic that you use in the game. Now I'm going to go for any position in the tactic simply because that's what works for me. But if you want to be more specific, you could choose a position. Now, if we type in and give it a name, in this case, I'm going to call it youth. You could call it anything you want. From there on in, you can either go very specific or you can be kind of like vague. And I'm going to go vague for this demonstration. But if you want to go more specific, obviously, you can choose from many different stats and figures in there. I tend to find that doesn't necessarily make a lot of difference to me personally. So I'm going to go kind of vague and let my scouts kind of work it out. Now, for me, I choose transfer here. Now, this is the kind of interesting choice. Now, if you were to do that at 2 stars, you might find that a lot of the players that you get have already moved on to their second club from their first, maybe not so good club in maybe Serbia or Romania, for example. So I tend to knock it down to 1.5 stars to kind of get those players when they first come into the game or when they're in the youth team and they up and coming players, and try and grasp them while the price of the players is much cheaper and more obtainable for a team. And certainly if you're a team with not a lot of money, then that will certainly benefit you because you can get a player, you can build them up, maybe you sell them on, maybe you keep them in your first team, who knows. So in terms of age, for me, I'm going to try and get those 15 to 19-year-olds. Now, obviously, if you go 20, that also works. But for me, I want to go for the 15 to 19. I really want those kind of new players to the game. Now, area is obviously what we want to scout. And for me, for this demonstration, I'm going to choose Eastern Europe. And the reason why I'm doing that is very simple. Players, on the whole, seem to be relatively cheap in those places. Now, it's not a given. It's not. People may argue that. But for me, I've certainly found that does tend to work well. At least there are much more players that seem to be found in those areas. So we're going to pick Eastern Europe. So that's obviously your Russias, your Ukraines, and so forth. Those kind of Eastern European countries. And obviously, if we choose Central Europe, you get your Spains, your Portugals, and so forth. So it's really depends on what you want to choose. Obviously, Scandinavia, Sweden, Norway, that kind of thing. So you get the kind of picture there. Now, obviously, we hit confirm there. Now, priority is an interesting one again, because if you were to choose standard, you'd find that you'd only scout for a period of time. If you choose top, again, it'll scout really intensely, but only for a period of time. If you choose ongoing, then you choose when it stops. So you could scout for 10 years if you wanted to, and it'll keep constantly picking and plucking out those players. So I'm going to choose ongoing. Now, here's another interesting one that you can choose. You can either assign your scout in here, or you can let your assistant or wherever your priorities are set to assign that for you. So I'm going to choose that, maybe director of football potentially in there. Now, this is a choice because obviously if you've got a team of scouts where you're more established and you've been able to hire scouts for many years, you're obviously going to have a lot more scouts with the green kind of like higher ability kind of scouts, if you like. In my case, I've got one that is, if I scroll down to the very bottom, he's got 20 potential, 20 adaptability, and 17 for judging ability. Now, obviously, if you're a newer team with less money, maybe 15, that kind of thing, like a broad kind of spectrum in there. For me, I want a higher judging potential when I'm doing this. It's not an exact science, but it seems to work well. So I'm going to choose this guy here, Mr. Ricardo, and we're going to go confirm there. And then we're going to hit confirm at the bottom. Now, I think because I've already kind of done the scout lights for, I've already got a player populated in that list there. Yeah, he's also in 6 other focuses. But yeah, what you'll see is over a period of time, that list will start to populate with players. Now, if we look at one of my other ones, let's pick out North America. No one I'd particularly want to sign in here, but you can see that list starts to populate with those younger players. And if we go to Western Europe, you can again see that again. This is a more broad and not age-specific, but that list will populate with players as they are found and as they are determined that they fit the requirements that you've chosen. Now, if you like this video, please give me a like and a subscribe. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.